Hey, it's Ritzy Roy here. Today's topic is going to be about early game cheese champions. For the thumbnail, I took the creative liberties and pasted some images of some really powerful early game characters on the faces of rats, because this is kind of how they're going to play the early game. They're going to kind of rat you out. They're going to look for some stupid stuff they can do to try to get a lead and eventually make your team FF early so they can get their easy wins. I'm gonna try to help us understand how to deal with them and just how they work, because it's not the most effective. I mean, it is a very effective strategy, but it's not 100% effective. There's counterplay for you if you're playing like a pseudo scaling champion like we were doing. For the gameplay in the video, I'm gonna be showing my gameplay. We were playing some bot lane Kai'Sa, and we were against Pantheon ADC with Pyke support. Literally within like the first 30 seconds, I'm already getting hit by the cheese. I had to flash away because I was warding the middle bush. My Lux was off somewhere else. I don't know what she was doing. I think she was like warding River or something. The Lux we're playing with isn't as familiar with their game, like the stuff they're trying to do early on. So I kind of have to play with more caution. I understand the matchup somewhat. Here, you can't see, but I was trying to ping asking. I thought Lux leveled up her E, so I was asking her to E that bush right there so I could auto Pyke, but she leveled Q instead, so we actually can't get Prio in the bush early on and like try to flush the Pyke out. So this allows them to execute their plan even more, and suddenly Lux just dies really fast early on. So let's pause here and let's talk about what the hell just happened in front of us. Early game champions are going to be fueled by two things. The first thing is lethality. I'm using Pyke to show this off. For lethality, this is actually a stat in the game, but I'm just using lethality as more of a broad concept. It's basically characters that can have either CC or have some sort of like crazy gap closer that allows them to be a threat from a pretty decent range away. In Pyke's case, he has that really long hook that he can throw all the way across the lane and pull you in and kill you. The second thing they're usually going to need is stat check. It's pretty convenient that Pyke and Pantheon are the pictures for this because they both do the things I'm talking about. But Pantheon is the stat checker in the duo. At the start of the game, actually, let's tap back into our league match. At the start of the game, when Lux dies, we'll speed this up. I try to like get some like revenge by shooting them, so okay, so around 2 minutes. Now that they're not level 1 anymore, they can execute their combo and we can like better see how the two of them interact with each other. Can you guess what's gonna happen again? Lux is level 1 and she's unfamiliar with the matchup. She lands she's gonna land a Q on Pyke here, which is kind of messed up because she actually played it I mean, she gets hit here, but like she lands her spell and he lands his spell. So who do you think dies here? Spoiler alert, it's sadly going to be Lux because she doesn't have the same early game power as him. So she lands her Q and Pyke and Pantheon basically do their thing. Pyke initiates it with its lethality by pulling her in and CCing her, and then Pantheon stat checks and just one-shots her early on. So, and they get the kill. Holding tab, Pantheon has 080 starting out. He literally started with Dorian's shield, yet he still does enough physical damage with his spell rotation to just basically like delete anyone he gets on top of. That's kind of just what he does early on. That's just how Pantheon works. And these two, I guess, driving factors usually are going to be the essence, the buildup of all early game cheese. I'm gonna tap back to our PowerPoint. When I look at the thumbnail, the three, I guess like the three stooges of early game BS, Darius, Pantheon, and like Blitzcrank, they all have some aspect of this. If you have Blitzcrank, he can pull you in from far away and kill you. Darius, he actually has a pseudo Blitzcrank hook, and he can stat check you because of the way his passive works. So that's what these people are going to be doing. They're going to want to kill you. They're going to want to kill you early with low effort, and then they're going to get a lead and snowball the game out. So this sounds super strong, right? Because like they don't have to put in a lot of effort to just instantly win the game. How in the world would you deal with it? And I'm going to go back to our gameplay. There's a dragon fight that breaks out, but it's kind of messy, so I'm probably gonna skip it. Not too much to learn here besides they played it wrong. Everyone played the fight wrong. So if I go back to just like a few minutes of laning phase, and I'm gonna tab into myself. One of the main things I'm doing is trying to keep the wave generally around my tower. Since I am a ranged character, I have the advantage of being able to hit the minion wave without getting super close to it. For them to execute their combo, Pyke either has to land his hook on me or Pantheon has to land his W. But since I have a gun, I can kind of hit my minions without getting too close to them. Now, technically speaking, they do have counterplay to this. What they'd probably want to do is Pantheon would want to shove this wave in and then make it crash, slowly push the wave out to me, and then find a way to freeze it around here. Because if they froze the wave around here, as the ADC, I'd have to walk up to this spot, and then Pyke could probably just chill out in one of these bushes here and have more opportunities for them to execute their one-shot kill combo. However, these two goofy goobers are, I don't want, that's not nice, but these two guys are not doing that. So they allow me to basically play the matchup in the way I should, which is just AFKing and farming. We don't win early, so my main goal here is to survive. While this kind of slow laning phase plays out, we don't really get too much action until like later on, so I'm probably gonna pause now. We'll go back to the PowerPoint, and we'll try to condense what we just said into something that's a little more readable. So, real quickly, for matchups, I'm gonna use something that's not in the game. This is, well, not in that game we were last playing, and this is gonna be the matchup between Poppy and Rengar. Rengar actually would not, he doesn't 100% fall into like the super early game bully thing, because like he kind of has to get a lead to be powerful, but he sort of falls into the whole the kind of the stat check category of what we were talking about, where if Rengar gets on top of you early on, he can hurt you really bad. And Poppy kind of falls into it, but not 100%. I'd say Rengar is better at doing damage and Poppy is better at tanking. So you would typically think early on or just throughout the game, Rengar, if he gets on top of Poppy, he kills her, but due to the way matchups work in League, it's not that easy. It's a little more complex. So our next slide kind of breaks down how they work. It kind of boils down to when, why, and how to fight the enemy. In a case of Poppy Rengar, Rengar is going to do most of his damage by going into a bush and then activating his passive, which allows him to leap to someone, and then he can cycle his abilities from that and nuke you for a crap ton of damage, which is why he's an assassin. Typically, if you're a squishy or something and you get caught near a bush and Rengar does this to you, you go bye-bye, you just die. However, Poppy has a specific move that completely destroys this whole game plan, which is her W. She'll put a ring around herself where if you're in that ring while it's active, you will get CC'd if you're currently doing a dash. So in the case of Poppy versus Rengar, his passive counts as a dash. So if he goes into the bush and then tries to jump from the bush to her to do his combo, she can react with her W and CC him out of that, and then she can use her abilities to punish him. So for that reason, the matchup's actually winning for Poppy, even though I guess Rengar probably has the bigger stats early on. He has the bigger stats and the bigger damage, but it's kind of the complexities of League. League is kind of like a fighting game in some ways. So that was Poppy versus Rengar. Let's just talk about in general what you need to worry about for matchups too. So the first bullet point is, when is your character stronger? Some characters start out with better stats, like Pantheon, or some characters have to gain items and eventually their stats will outscale. The example is going to be Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa at the start of the game, like most ADCs, she can do stuff, but she's not going to be able to, I guess, be as scary. She's not at her peak at the start of the game versus Pantheon, where Pantheon is stronger than most people at the start of the game, so he's typically considered to be an early/mid-game character. The next thing is that certain people spike with certain items or levels. We can use a specific situation here. Pantheon's W is one of the main reasons he wins the matchup. It's kind of sort of like Rengar W, where he jumps to you, except he doesn't need a bush. He just point and clicks on you, and he can just jump at you by point clicking to you. If Pantheon gets close to Kaisa, he can press his W to point and click dash to her, which will immediately stun her, and he can also, it'll make him do some auto attacks, and he can just stat check her because he instantly gap closes her with it. So in that situation, W is actually going to be a game-winning ability, which I wrote here. However, in terms of spiking with items, if the Kaisa player gets an item called Quick Silver Sash, which I'm going to get it later on in the video, she can activate that item to remove all CCing effects on her, which allows her to continue to gain her space and kite out the Pantheon. That matters a lot for the matchup. So she super spikes in this matchup with QSS. Suddenly it's way more fair when she's running that. Okay, next is tracking cooldowns. We already went over this early, but in certain matchups, there are game-winning abilities. The two examples we've given were Pantheon W and Poppy W. Those two abilities completely change how the matchup works. If they do not have those abilities, then a punish window opens up for their opponent. However, usually people punish with abilities, so their opponent also has to have their own cooldowns ready. So an example we could give for it would be like Poppy, out of fear, sees Rengar and she immediately throws out her W expecting him to jump on her, but he just doesn't. He just stays in the bush and stares at her. If Poppy doesn't get the hell out of dodge immediately, he can wait for that W to run down and then jump on her and do his combo. So that's the good scenario. This bad scenario would be if, let's say, Rengar is doing his camps or something and he wastes his bola on a camp. I don't know why you're bolaing your camp, but let's say he bolas his camp, he W's the heal, and then he Qs the camp and he has nothing up, and then Poppy sees him and panic W's. Rengar wants to jump on her and kill her right away, but he doesn't have anything up. So if he jumps on her now, all he really can do is probably just auto attack her with his passive. And if Poppy only used her W but her other cooldowns are up, she's gonna win, even though she got rid of her game winning spell. So having your cooldowns at the ready to punish is super important. In more even matchups, you're gonna have to do these over and over, these interactions over and over again, and eventually they'll add up to you killing someone. But in the case of Kaisa versus Pantheon, honestly, if Pantheon Pyke land 1 CC on me, I just die, but you get the idea. In like a top lane matchup, you usually have to continuously outplay someone in these trades. That's what people usually call them. And then lastly, in matchups, this is the part that I think some people get stuck on a lot, which does matter, but it's not like the end all be all. It's going to be mechanics. It's basically, we talked about this in our last video when I was saying winning with no hands. It's going to be how fast can you cycle through your abilities, because like we mentioned here, you will use abilities to damage people and do combos. That's how you're going to punish people. The better your mechanics are, the faster you can cycle through your abilities, and the better your trades will be. If you use these trade patterns, you can get an advantage. Let's go back to gameplay, and we're going to skip to a point where I think the Pantheon doesn't 100% mechanically play the best, and he takes a really bad trade, even though he uses his abilities that he was supposed to use. Okay. You know what? Actually, I'll go to a point where we both fail. I'm currently looking at the game right now, even though it's not showing. We both mess up pretty bad here. Okay, back to OBS, into my game, and play. Roll the footage. So Drake has spawned, and we're about to do a fight in the bot side here. Right now, I think Fiddlesticks is rotating for a gank, but he ends up not doing it. And Briar is just chilling out up there. There's a lot of things going on from both teams. So Fiddlesticks ends up 1v3 trying to drain him and get his HP back. And Briar makes a little bit of a mistake with her abilities and goes on this guy while we're rotating. She can't get off of him because she did her W, and she ends up getting CC'd by Lux, and she just dies. Now, here's where I guess you could say the ability aspect also messes up. He goes for his W, but Pyke doesn't. I guess Pyke just didn't have his Q or E. So, which should have just been an instant team fight win for them, just doesn't work. So they played the matchup wrong there. They probably should have held their spells for me and not really spent everything on that Fiddlesticks because he wasn't the immediate threat. But since they don't do that, I'm able to rotate around. I'm able to keep fighting, and eventually we pick up a kill here. My Yasuo goes in. I think Pantheon still has like 0 spells, and eventually we auto him down and kill him. So mechanics and ability usage definitely make a big part in, like, I guess, like playing the matchups and just interacting with the people you beat. Because even though technically I'd say like holding tab, Pantheon's stronger than me. He has better stats, but he just isn't playing it properly. He isn't playing the matchup right. So he actually just ended up trolling that team fight for him, to be honest. So that's an example of how matchups can play into it. I'm gonna go back to our PowerPoint. Tab in, tab out. The next thing I will say is accrue insight. Now, this might sound crazy, but basically, you're not 100% going to know everyone's cooldowns and stuff like that. So you're going to kind of have to just fight characters and get used to what they do. I can't tell you 100% everyone's cooldowns off heart, but as I play the game and I guess like see what they do, you can kind of see their trade patterns and stuff like that. Or you can even look it up online, but the main thing is you're gonna have to play the game more and interact with the characters more in your matchup to get more insight on how to play it. The matchups don't all play the same for every person. Like if I wasn't Kai'Sa or an ADC, the way I had approached the 2v2 against Pantheon might be incredibly different than how I approached it with Kai'Sa. Like if I was maybe like Zoe or something, honestly the early game might not have been as scary against them because I would have had my own crazy burst threat. But I was playing a marksman, so we couldn't do that. Here's an embarrassing part of the video. Let's just get it out the way. Sometimes you will fall. You might be executing the matchup properly isn't 100% easy, so sometimes you will make a mistake. There will be a lapse to your judgment and you will die. I think in this game, I literally only died one time, but it's kind of a crucial death. I bookmarked it too. I think it was 1925. That's disgusting, by the way. I think I played like really well for most, not flawlessly, but I played really well to not die for most of the game, but just because of the nature of the matchup, I still can just randomly die. So this whole game, let's hold tab. Yeah, no deaths. I actually have 4 kills. I've been respecting this Pantheon, but I think I messed up once here. Let's see. I'm thinking I want to recall. Yeah, and I see that Pantheon is alone, and I low-key want to fight him because like I'm thinking Pantheon's alone, and I want to fight him. I made a mistake here. I didn't realize how far my Lux was. I saw a Pyke on the map in mid lane, and my mind neurons activated in my brain and told me let's kill this guy. But I wasn't paying attention to where my Lux was, so I try to run to her for safety, and he jumps on me, and I just get nuked and deleted. So even though you like know how to play the matchup, crazy stuff might happen, and sometimes you will fall. Sometimes you will fall, but you just gotta get back up, and that's kind of why I showed in the. I showed Undertale for it because, like, I think it's a funny motif for falling down and making mistakes. Oh, did I tap into the game? I'm so sorry I didn't. Hold on. Let me tap in for you. It all happened so fast. Okay, so we're fighting. I see Pyke roam to mid lane. I want to fight him, but I didn't realize that my Lux was sitting in this bush. So I walk up preemptively to auto attack him. I eat his spells, and he actually just ends up killing me. This is like my only death in this entire 30-minute game. Because I've been playing safe. I think I died for the first time in like 19 minutes, but still, even though if you're playing safe for a long time, the matchup doesn't end. It's still going on for the entire game. And I'm not at the point yet where I just completely ultra outscale Pantheon either, because I only have like 1 item. So I played wrong there and I died. It's gonna happen to you. Like, as no one's perfect. All you really can do is just keep making mistakes and getting back up and just getting better, so you troll less matchups. But just be ready for failure. I think failure is a necessary part for dealing with these really annoying characters. Okay, next important thing is if you're in bot lane, this mainly applies for bot lane, not other people, but if you're in bot lane, you have to work with your support to make things happen. If you don't do that like we did there, and you try to like do stuff by yourself, then you can probably just die. Even though it was technically a quote unquote 1v1 between me and Pantheon, I died because he's an early game cheese champion and I'm a marksman, so he can just run me down and stat check me. The better way to approach that scenario would have been to wait for my Lux to land a CC or something like that, or to position myself in a way where Lux could have effectively helped me. Luckily, in this game, we actually have an example of us doing that. Where is it? Work with your duo. Yeah, 25 minutes in. We finally kill this kid, like, together. Not in a team fight, but, like, in the side lane, we kill him. 25 minutes? Mind you, our mid laner didn't want to rotate this game. I think we did. Usually it's like normal for bot and mid to switch lanes at some point, but this game our mid laner just didn't want to rotate, so we kind of were stuck side lane for a while, but eventually we do kill him. This is kind of him executing the, this is him doing what I told myself not to do earlier, but he's going to end up trying to fight us when he doesn't have cooldowns. This is huge, by the way, because at this point in the game, he has like a 700 gold shutdown. I'm under a tower, I pap to Lux, I get a shield, I survive the combo with that, then I R and shield myself, and we finally kill this kid. He was emoting the whole game, so I kind of had to let out my frustrations to let him know we got his ass. But this is when the entire game shifts. That guy was worth 1,000 gold, and we have been, like, evenly farming the whole match. I've only died once, so I've never, even though he was getting a lot of kills, I've never fallen super far behind the guy. So now finally comes a point where we can start to outscale him and win the matchup. I'll just fast forward to some team fights coming up here. Like, literally right after we kill that guy, the game just kind of flips on its head. We go for another dragon fight at 26 minutes, and now I'm scaled. I can kind of just run them down and delete them. It's just kind of like the fruits of my labor, of just being patient, not doing stupid stuff. I think for this Drake fight, what happens here? Oh yeah, we were going to go for Drake, but then we end up chasing. Which I wanted to walk away, but we just keep doing it. But it ends up working out for us anyways, because I'm skilled. I'm at the point now where now I'm the one who's stat checking you. And because we're at the late game. And again, this plays into how our matchup is supposed to work. I am the one, I outscale Pantheon. And that's kind of the goal when you're fighting these super annoying early game comps, is you want to try and play patient and consistent so eventually you can outscale them. If you're playing a scale wave, if you're playing another early game champion, then you gotta try to outplay them in early. But from our POV as an ADC, then our goal is to play slow and respectful, try to minimize our mistakes and outscale them, and specifically playing, I guess, off of your duo matters a lot. Playing off your support does matter here. Like, don't go for fights against these early game champions if your support's not ready, or if your support doesn't see them coming, then you should probably walk away. Like, kind of like I did there. Like, my support wasn't here, so I didn't commit to it. So just be aware of what the other laner is doing, because a lot of your power, as an ADC, a lot of your power is tied behind your support in the early game. It's only later on, like now, where I can kind of start to be independent and just do my own stuff. But it all pays off in the end, because now you see we're super strong. We're killing things. I think I'll let this fight play out, and then, like, basically right after this, I think we just end the game. Or really soon, at least. A few more things happen, but yeah, we basically just end the game here. Pyke misses his R. They're all just super outscaled at this point. Now they're just losing the matchup. I think, don't I have... Yeah, now I actually have the big bounty that he had. And finally, we call up to him and kills. We actually have more kills now. I mean, he has more KP, but we now have more kills, and I think more gold, too. But it was a long, arduous road, but eventually we beat the early game cheese. This one's a little longer than I like, but I kind of just wanted to give us a detailed breakdown of how to deal with early game cheese, because it's a complicated thing. This video won't 100% show you how to deal with it, but this may be showing you a live example of how I beat it can help you deal with it in your games. Because it's super frustrating, and honestly, I think in low elo, you run into this a lot more than people give credit to. There's a lot of people just trying to look for easy wins in low elo, so if you're trying to get out, you need to know how to deal with it. This is going to be in the end of what I had to say. not all the time. Sometimes you will be the early game cheese character, so just keep in mind the things I said about wave clear and stuff like that. This is Ritzy Roy signing out.